Welcome, friends. So much to hold these days. So much, and more important than ever, to hold. Our heart can hold it all. So here we are in these interesting times. And I just remind you, it's really powerful meditating together like this, live, right? It's definitely powerful. And you can almost sense it, even though we're in virtual, we are connected. And it's very powerful in the sense of how it can be moving, and you can feel the energy, and especially in the meditation. So I love that, and I thank you for the ones of you that have your images visible. I can see you. I see you. It's so nice, and I really appreciate it. And you don't have to have your video on, of course, but I always like to see you. It really makes my heart happy. My friends, kindred, we are. So it feels so good. And also tomorrow the YouTube video will be up, so you can find it again if you want to meditate at the exact time, which is at tomorrow at 1:35 p.m. Pacific. So people are in different places, but wherever you are. So you can meditate again with it if you want to, or just go back and do even a 1-minute meditation and just touch in to it at the exact time. I try to do that right when it's happening, even if it's 4 a.m. I try to just touch it at least, So tomorrow it's easy. It's at 1:35. And we're in solar Cancer and full moon Capricorn. And so you're probably feeling the largesse of this time. It's interesting with solar Cancer, right? It's all about water and all about feelings. And here we're having floods around the world, right? Big ones, unprecedented floods and flooding that is happening in many, many places all at once. And to me, when I was looking at the chart, which I'll show just for a minute in a bit, I think, is Neptune is retrograde, meaning it apparently seems to be going backwards. It looks backwards visually. It isn't really, but it on the elliptic, it seems to be going backwards. That's called retrograde, just like when Mercury goes retrograde. We hear that one all the time because Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year, at least, 3 or 4 sometimes. But Neptune doesn't, and when it does, the big planets, the slow-moving planets, they have a very big influence in our lives. And so it's going backwards in Aries, a fire sign with Neptune is a very watery, dreamy sign. So it's intense. So you might be having intense dreams, a lot of them, or premonitions or psychic awarenesses and insights, that flashes of understandings and realizations. So you might be experiencing that because it's definitely in the air right now. And so we're sort of working with these energies that are super intense and magnified by the planetary alignments, which is just interesting. You don't even need to know anything about that, except a lot of you do know astrology, so I like to share it. As many of you know, I'm a lifelong astrologer. Coincidentally, that's my passion, like meditation is. That's my passion. And counseling, spiritual counseling, which is different than psychological counseling, coming from a spiritual perspective in everything that I love. And astrology my father was an astrologer, and I learned astrology as a child. As a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, I learned it. And so it's sort of in my bones. And I take it as something, the old soul, right? Something you pick up from probably other lifetimes where maybe it was much more prominent for me, but than it is in this one. But it is still an interesting guide. And when I do readings for people, individuals, or a marriage or a business, right? You can do anything like that. what I'm asking as a reader is, why am I here? What is the purpose of this life, or of this relationship, or of this business, right? Or of our world, or whatever we're working on? What is the purpose? Like, why am I here? Which is such an interesting question to ponder. And a lot of people that are, meditators do naturally ask that question, right? In the meditation, it kind of naturally comes up. So it's a profound thing to work with. And I'll just share the chart for a moment, just so you can see it. There's notes on this, but it's a very interesting little chart. This is the sun opposing the moon. This is the flooding, I'll call it, of emotions, the flooding of the field, right? The flooding of feelings, the flooding of waters. Here's Neptune, 2 degrees Aries, sitting over here, conjunct Saturn. That's been going to be going on all year long, very intensely, restructuring of the planet. So it's just a time, we're all working through this time where we get to work with these energies. Venus conjunct Uranus, that's beautiful, actually, a nice, wonderful conjunction in a mini trine. But what I wanted to show you was just where 18 degrees Cancer is and 18 degrees Capricorn, which is the full moon. So wherever 18 degrees Capricorn is, that's what this full moon will highlight. And in everyone's chart, that's going to be in a different place. So what I'm calling this is this full moon. I like to title them, and the title of this one is One Foot in Front of the Other, right? Just deliberate movement, deliberate motion, deliberate action, deliberate non-action. Deliberate is the key word. And using the ideas of conscious motion, conscious speaking, conscious thinking, conscious everything always. That's that Capricorn, right? Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. It's the timekeeper. It's the taskmaster. It's the purpose of your life. Where Saturn is what you're supposed to do. And usually what most astrologers would say is it's your job, right? Your job, and often it is. But I would say more like it's your career. It's your vocation or avocation, right? So it becomes this calling, basically, from a Saturnine planet that creates this purpose in your life. What's my purpose, you could ask, right? And that's what you can learn a lot about that, just knowing where Saturn is in your chart, what sign it's in, what house it's in. So we have the full moon in Capricorn, Saturn. So this is a time of kind of serious business, right? It's serious. It's sober, right? It's practicing. It is standing back. It's reserved. It's pulled back. It's waiting to see how to be, how to respond, how to react. And I'm always talking about being a sentry angel, right? That neutrality that Saturn brings. And so I've been teaching, how I teach my meditation classes too. I've been working with some of that, and I wanted to share just a bit of that for tonight, just to kind of bring it in. And that class is available too, by the way, if you want to get that. It's really a good class, the last meditation class, but this is a piece of it that I wanted to share with you now. This is Dr. David Hawkins, and he's the man who wrote Power versus Force, which is an amazing, amazing book. And this is what we've been working with in the classes, is where are we in the energetic frequency scale, right? So down here is shame, which is one of the lower vibration kinds of feelings. Apathy is a lower vibration. I like that they sort of brought in this almost chakric coloring for the words and these concepts. The highest is enlightenment. People resonate in different places. Like, where do I mainly land in this chart? Where do I sort of keep falling into? What's my rutted road energetically? Might be, fear, right? Sometimes, right? Or more than you want, or in general. And so that's a lower vibration, and that creates fear, creates anxiety, right? It's frightened, right? And it has a quality about it. And so we're always trying to, as I say, and everybody says, to raise our vibration. We're trying to go up. And the thing I wanted to share tonight about this, just for this class, is in the Capricornian sense of that, what actually makes a difference? That's what Saturn would ask, what actually matters, and does it work? It'll say that, like, does this actually work, or is it just airy fairy stuff? What I thought was interesting about this is that if this is the root, and then the second chakra, the solar plexus, here's the heart, here's the throat, right, and then the head center. What gets us into the heart is this interesting word of neutrality. Neutrality crosses over from the personal nature of how I feel and what I want and what I wish it was and how I want it to be, etc. And when we get to neutrality, which keyword is trust, right? Which, they're using the word satisfactory, but I would put the word acceptance there instead. You're actually in a state of lifting up your energy, no matter where you might fall. Like if you're down in here for whatever reason, that's how you cross the bridge in a way to those upper vibrational states. And the power of neutrality. You don't think of neutrality being powerful, but it is. It's more powerful than you think. And, we're so, especially now when things are polarized in the way they are, and more so, as if that's possible, but it is more and more so, that neutrality becomes a practice, right? To keep practicing that open state. The heart can hold it all. My heart can hold it all. And so you start to stand as a witness to the life. And you stand, because there's not a lot that any of us individually might be able to physically do, except what we can, right? So we know whatever that might be. Well, we can't by ourselves. That's not true. But we can't by ourselves usually, save the whales, unless we are in a team of people that do that. And then, yes, we can maybe save the whales or be part of that. The other thing that I wanted to share for this full moon that goes with David Hawkins' work is he says this quote, which I think is powerful. And my subhead for this full moon is getting to neutral. Getting to neutral, the practice of getting to neutral. So when you get dunked by whatever's, dunking you, how do you get back to neutral? So that's sort of the title of it, the subtitle of this. But the thing that he says is one individual who vibrates to the energy of pure love. Okay, so that's no easy feat. Pure love. One individual who vibrates to the energy of real pure love. Not, I love you, but pure love, which is a high frequency. One individual who vibrates to the energy of pure love will counterbalance the negative energy of 750,000 people who do not. Right? Which is amazing of a concept. And whatever that number is, if it's 500,000 or 200,000 or a million, he's saying he does all these testings for this, but that's the number he says. I think the point is it makes a big difference when you can stay in the state of pure love? Well, pure love is quite up the scale vibrationally. I'll show the chart again. Pure love from neutrality, 250, is way up here, right? So you have to go through all these other states before you get to love. So it's one of the highest possible vibrations that we can kind of touch. There's more joy. And there's words here. These words are placeholders in a way because, we could use different words to say those things. But you get the idea, right? That how do you get to that pure love, or even, and this is what I've been saying lately to everybody, even if you can just touch it for a moment, it makes a difference. And we say, we're on a roller coaster ride. And we are. And people's lives are affected. And we know people's lives that are affected, and our lives are affected too. So on this roller coaster ride, when you're in the down part and you're going down at 1,000,000 miles an hour down that roller coaster, you're probably not in the state of love. I have a wonderful picture I should find of the Dalai Lama, or not the Dalai Lama, but 3 monks from his group on a roller coaster, going down, coming up over the hump and starting to go down, and they're going, it's sort of like that. Like, you could have joy even when you're going down on that scary downhill that seems so steep. You can embrace it, right? You can just go with it. That is sort of the idea, is how do you get into a state of pure love? Well, you're not going to probably stay in that all day long. And otherwise you really would be enlightened, right? If you could stay in that state 24/7, you wouldn't even be on the planet anymore, right? But so what is the Capricorn full moon? What is the actual thing you can do, right? And so we're not going to stay in it even for maybe 5 minutes in a row, let alone all day. But we can touch it and touch it and touch it and touch it all day long. And we have so many practices, and I've given so many practices in our groups, right, of taking a breath and get present, right? And the blue dot practice, where you put blue dots around your house, and every time you see the blue dot, you go, oh yeah, take a breath, right? Now, it's not about breathing exactly, because we're breathing anyway, right? We're always breathing. But the difference between a conscious breath, right, and just breathing as I'm breathing is extremely, completely different. So when I take a conscious breath through my day, as I'm getting out of my car to go into the store, or in between sessions where I'm meeting with people, taking a conscious breath, I'm taking a conscious breath. Because in a way, what I'm trying to do is be present to the new thing in front of me. So if in the last moment I had an upsetting experience or something happened, and then I'm coming into a working session with someone, I don't want to bring all that energy with me into that. That's then. That's the past. Like, truly, even if it happened 1 minute ago, it's still the past. I can, by my practice, by your practice, I can come into the moment by a breath. And you have no idea how much just that could possibly change, not possibly, will change your life. When you start to activate that way of connecting the dots of one present moment to the next present moment to the next present moment. So in the beginning, the way I teach this is I'll say, once a day, or in the morning and the night, take a breath, right? Or maybe you can take a breath every hour consciously in this way, which is a coming into presence. It's not about breathing. It's about using your breath to bring you into the present. But what happens as you meditate more and more is you keep making the distance, or the time between this conscious moment to this conscious moment isn't from here to here, the morning and the night anymore. Now it's this experience, this experience to this, whether it be doing the dishes, walking outside, talking on the phone, going to the store, whatever it is. Every time you take a new action, you keep bringing this breath presence to it. And then that gets narrower, where the time between even that is shorter, so that in someday, it's like you're meditating all the time. So you could be in the middle of a conversation, you could be having dinner with friends, but there's not this, wheeling off and away from the present moment. Even in an argument or in anything, there is a constant return to center, a constant realignment with the soul, to consciously choose, which is a big word in this, to choose to be present to the moment, whatever it is. And that's what's hard, right? Because some moments are not pretty, very difficult, very challenging, painful. You might be in a hospital, or you might be with someone in a hospital, or you're the one in the hospital, or all the things that happen, just as an example, that it's hard to be present. But, is that a good place to be present in a hospital? Either side of it, right? To stay present to everything all the time is a choice. But you have to start somewhere, right? And that's why we meditate, because we are building a muscle all the time to get to neutral. See, getting to neutral was the subtitle of this. And you think of it, of getting to neutral is when you observe your thoughts, right? You're not the thought. You're observing the thought as if you're watching a movie of yourself or of your own thinking. And you start to realize the difference between thinkings and knowings. And so I always say to my own feeling is, I don't really care what I think, right? But I really know what I know. And that is not coming from my logic or my mind, which is, intelligent, quick, creative. I have that kind of a mind, but I don't care about that, because there's something like a jewel in the lotus, right? That's beyond the mind and the thinking. It includes the mind and the thinking, but it is not simply the mind and its thinkings. And, there's that in metaphysics, we say this, that the biggest pitfall on the spiritual path is the intellect, which is so interesting. You think, how can that be? We so prize that. And I get it, though, because it is a prize, it is a treasure, the mind. But for spiritual work, it's nothing to do with it. It's almost something so neutral is you learn to observe your thoughts rather than, that's a good idea, or I really agree with myself about that, how we do. Or we play conversations and say, I should have said this and I should have said that. All of that stuff is sort of this, all part of the ego. All part of the ego's experience. And so you're working on getting up and through that. Well, neutral is in the heart section of that chart. It starts to take you up to the place where you can begin to glimmer those higher states. And we've all had joy in our lives, and we've all had pure love in our lives, right? For a newborn baby, or joy and love, and those words are there, but we're not staying in that state all the time, but we can touch it. And if it helps you to think of the birth of a child, or the look in someone's eyes, or your teacher that you love, because they get you and you get them, and there's this connection, or whatever it is that you love, right? And it reminds you of that. It's good, it's okay, and it's good to use, that's why a lot of us have images, right, of of the Christ, or I have, everything of Mary, of Paramahansa Yogananda was one of my people, and is one of my people, and so many others. Those are, they're there not to go, aren't they beautiful, or to show them to anybody else. It's a reminder to me of everything that they embodied. Krishnamurti, there's just so many teachers that have affected us, and the Buddha, right? We all have our Buddhas out there, but that's a concept that being is embodying to remind us of a state. So I love state, and if you go on my, especially SoundCloud, because it's no visuals on that. YouTube has visual, audio visual, but the SoundCloud's just sound. And my voice has a timbre and a tonation, an intonation that is the state. And so when I'm teaching about love, I am in the vibration of love. And if I'm teaching about peace, I'm in the vibration of peace. Because you can't teach it and not embody it at the same time. Or you can, but it doesn't do the same effect at all. And so how you do that is to practice touching it, and not even expecting yourself to hold it. You will hold it longer and longer, but in the beginning you just touch. So at this time of so much changing going on, and confusion that's happening, and chaos in a way in different places, everywhere, that neutrality becomes precious. And you can build that by meditating every day. And you can use my meditations, or you can use other people's meditations, or you can just sit in meditation. You can do it all any way that gets you there. But what I'm suggesting for this month is the practical application of spiritual principle, right? That's Capricorn, right? Is all month long, from this whole entire month till the next full moon, practice touching it. And if you're on the roller coaster ride, just try to get to neutral. It's enough. It's a lot. It's more than it looks. And then I go back to that quote from David Hawkins. One individual who vibrates to the energy of pure love will counterbalance the negativity of 750,000 who do not. Right? So it makes a difference more than we realize. We're thinking, what good can it do? What good can I do? How can I help? How do I help? Like that. That's how you can help. And then if there's some thing to do, some specific action to take, some letter to write, some whatever it is, you will be inspired to it. And you will. Or you'll be at the right place at the right time, where all of a sudden that voice matters, your voice matters. This is sort of long, and I'm going to try to keep it really short, so I'm going to change a long story to a short story. But on NPR, there was a man who was in his 80s that had been in jail for most of his life. And he wrote a book about his life, which I think is called Terror Days. And there's Strange Fruit, the song, was written about the last lynching I'm going to get these details wrong. It's been a long time since I listened to this, but I think it was in Indiana. It wasn't in the South. It was in the middle of the country. And it was the last lynching, and that song was about the strange fruit, because they were lynched from this gigantic tree in the middle of the town center. So these 3 boys were accused of killing this man. They were a couple walking down the street, and they were 14, 15, and 17. They were taken to jail, and it went crazy. It became like a lynch mob, like literally. And the sheriff of that jail took the bloody shirt and waved it out the window, and it caused this thing to happen where people were just going mad in a way. And people called, and something like 10,000 people came to the center of that city. And this is in the day when you had to call the operator and say, can you call 54? You know, but through this system, all these people came to the center of town. And we're getting riled up and more and more and more and more. And they broke the doors down. And one kid at a time, they took them out of the jail and beat them to death as they walked down the street. So the first kid that's taken out, he was dead before they lynched him, as they took him from the jail to the tree. But they still lynched him. The second one comes out, and there's age order. Was not killed and was lynched and was holding himself, and so they broke his arms and then he died. And the third kid is being taken out, and he was 14, being taken down and beaten, and all that was going on. And somebody got on top of a car and said, "Stop!" And they stopped. And he went to jail for all of his life, pretty much. And he writes his book, and he wasn't angry. And he didn't do it. And they didn't do it. And he had forgiven everybody for everything, you know. But that thing of the one voice at the right time can be us, you know. Like, what are we doing? What are you doing? And some of us have access to things, and we all have access to everything, actually. It's just what we have access to is what we have access to, and that's where our place is. We're at the exact right place at the exact right time. Meanwhile, what do? Is we keep holding for the highest, no matter what. So we've been talking about this for a while, and we continue, and there's more to come, and we're in the middle of a revolution. There is a big change happening on our planet, and there is a design to this that we can't see or don't know. We might sense. Many of us have senses of it and glimmerings of like what this is. And just kind of listening to yourself about that and getting to neutral so that you're not down here all the time. Because it is easy to get into despair. It is easy to get into depression, right? It is easy to just live in the grief or the shock or the fear. Those are really low vibrations, and they don't help. They just create more of that, which is already what it is. So we lift to neutral, lift to neutral, which meditation is a practice of watching your thoughts. I am not my thoughts. I am so much more than that. So I'll leave it there. There's so much more, of course, to say, but it's a starting place, and we'll go into a meditation now on that note. So I'm getting my candle. If you have a candle, you can light one too. You should get comfortable and be at ease in your body. Oh, Cynthia, I see your wonderful prayer there. She has that Buddhist prayer of forgiveness that says, if I have harmed anyone in any way through my own confusions, I ask for their forgiveness. If anyone has harmed me in any way, at any time through my own confusions, right? It goes on. It's just a beautiful, beautiful prayer. I have that on my cell phone. Wallpaper, right? getting to neutral. Om, getting to neutral. Om, getting to neutral. Om. And just as you start to close your eyes and begin to move into the state, right, of neutral for the moment, which is a high vibration. Because what if most of the day you've been stressed out or tense, worried, right? So bringing it to neutral is very much raising the vibration of the energy. So just let yourself touch, neutrality. And I think of neutrality, a kind of higher expression of that word is equanimity, right? That equanimity, that even countenance of, right, the vertical and the horizontal, to go and be and live in that state of equilibrium, right? So just see if you can touch neutrality, touching neutral, and just using your breath to relax the physical body, whatever might be going on in it. There's always things going on in it. And just breathing through that. Breathing through the heart. Literally, sometimes even having your hands, if you want, on your heart increases that experience very much. Healing your own heart. And mentally, finally, the mind becoming still. The mind becoming quiet. The mind becoming observing. The mind standing as witness to the capital S self. Om. And you use your breath to go deeper into the stillness, into the neutral. Doesn't seem like much to reach for in a funny way, right? But it's powerful because it's the tipping point. And those lower vibrations, those upper vibrations, neutral. In this moment, all is well. Being in that stillness. Breathing in that stillness. Sensing all the awareness around the planet, more than it looks like. There's so much awareness right now. So much awakenings are happening. So many awakenings are happening. Everywhere. Everywhere. And you use your breath to calm and relax the physical body and on all of its levels, from the physical to the emotional to the mental to the astral to the etheric. And you start to feel this state, that's all we're calling it now, this state of neutral. I can be in this state. Now, neutral is not cold or uninterested or apathetic, right? It is very present to what is, to whatever is, I am very present to what is, whatever it is. And within that neutrality, equanimity, that countenance of alignment, within that, at the center, is the state of peace. Sense this. The state of peace. And I learned this from the Dalai Lama when he was here some years ago. He kept saying this phrase, the abiding peace that is always there. The abiding peace that is always there. Within that neutrality, within that equanimity, at the center is the abiding peace that is always there. Om. Let this imbue the fields of you and the space of this meditation and the group and the world group of light workers, of conscious spiritual souls round the world, knowing that everyone has this in them, no matter how it may appear. And by your light shining, you awaken other lights around you. Like that, right? Like this. Just like this. And so within this effort that we're making to be in that neutral, in the heart chakra line of the bridge between lower and higher vibration, you get to neutral, and within that neutral, as we move into the silence for some moments, I stand in the abiding peace that is always there. Om. I stand in the abiding peace that is always there. Om. I am meditating. Om. I am in the state of peace. Om. I stand in the abiding peace that is always there. Om. And this peace creates a portal that creates an emanation and a rippling out beyond yourself. And so experiencing this peace is the offering, is the healing. Is the blessing. Is the consciousness. Is the living awareness as you inhale and exhale. I am peace. Om. And you allow this peace now to radiate like a sun from you. With no judgment or condition or design, except love and highest good. And you offer this as an emanation, as an ambassador of peace. And sense this being received by the oceans, by the trees, by the mountains, by every being. And by your own self, too. Receiving this peace. I receive this peace. I am this peace. I can touch this peace anytime I remember. And on your exhalation, just offer it to anyone that needs it, anyone that you know or don't know. And to yourself. Until after a while it starts to feel natural. To let your breath get deeper and fuller. until you feel ready to transition out of this meditation. When you're ready to. Yeah. I had a question on here in my note to myself was, what am I letting disturb my peace? So good. Beautiful. Thank you. This will be up on YouTube tomorrow. And thank you for being here live. It's different, so it's always really powerful. But you can listen again if you like, or anytime, because it's just there all the time. The next full moon is August 8th, which is a Wednesday. And the next meditation class is Wednesday, also July 23rd. So maybe I'll see you there or there. That's why I say watch the sky. You don't have to even look at a calendar. You can kind of just look up and know where we are. And I'm so glad you joined us today. Times are super, super intense. Just touch it. Touch. Yeah, thank you for the hearts. Just want to somehow, keep touching love, even for a moment, right? Even for a moment, it makes a difference. One individual who vibrates to the energy of pure love will counterbalance the negative energy of 750,000 who do not. Just love that. I'm thinking about that lately. So thank you, everyone. I'll see you next time. Peter posted the Buddhist prayer of forgiveness, and a couple of other people have it up too. If you want to screen grab it or just read it, or it's so powerful. If I have harmed anyone in any way, either knowingly or unknowingly, through my own confusions, I ask their forgiveness. If anyone has harmed me in any way, either knowingly or unknowingly, through their own confusions, I forgive them. And if there is a situation I am not yet ready to forgive, I forgive myself for that. For all the ways that I harm myself, negate, doubt, belittle, judge, or be unkind to myself through my own confusions, I forgive myself. Om.